volatile reactions in consumers, and oftentimes they result in violence to innocent bystanders.
I want to play a little something. You talk about the threat to bystanders and then to the users. This is a young man who was named Connor Eckhart, who fell into a coma and later died at the age of 19. Spoke with the Today Show, his family did, about all this. Let's listen to that.
I want people to know how dangerous this is. This is not a game. It is totally real.
It was a horrific sight to see your son hooked up to machines and to know that possibly they weren't going to actually wake up and ever say mama again.
You would think would be safe, would be okay. It's an alternative to marijuana, and it's anything but that. It's a deadly poison.
What do you think of that view that is out there, that perception, oh, this is sort of like marijuana or not as harmful as it actually is?
Well, my heart goes out to Connor's parents and his family, as that example vividly depicts, what we're talking about is a cocktail of synthetic chemicals that has unpredictable results. In fact, the only thing that's certain is that you're going to end up having some kind of a violent reaction that's going to cause significant harm to the user and perhaps to others.
When you look at the legal context, of course, many states are experimenting with decriminalization or legalization of pot itself. Does that complicate your efforts and those of other prosecutors to fight this, or because you, in this very interview, have been emphasizing that it is so different, that it's a drug, the sort of rhetorical overlap with organic or farm-grown pot is not the point?
I think the rhetorical overlap is not the point. It's a cause of confusion and can indeed cause people to think that the results are going to be, the classic mellow buzz that marijuana has traditionally been thought of as giving. What we've got to do is mark a stark distinction. In fact, there's data out there in states where marijuana is legal that hard use of drugs like synthetics and heroin is actually down. So when you talk about synthetic drugs, you're talking about something that absolutely is not marijuana.
And in reading up on this, in some of the articles, they talk about the prevalence of this, the easiness with which people are acquiring it, getting it at gas stations and such. Explain that. I mean, if a parent at home is watching and saying, wait, what do you mean this is available at a normal corner store?
Well, it wasn't until about 2010 or so that states across the countries and cities across the country started banning the substance. The substance was marketed initially as a legal form of THC. States and cities got wise and banned it. Nonetheless, for the money, certain convenience stores and gas stations and other purveyors are in the business of doing so. Smart cities and smart states like the District of Columbia have developed a multitude of tools to try as best we can to outlaw the selling of these illicit drugs.
I also want to read from a New York Times Magazine article about this that got a lot of attention, about the battle up in Syracuse. Police there responding to as many as 20 overdoses a day. A lieutenant playing a video one afternoon on a computer at the police station shows a man writhing on the floor in the corridor of an apartment building. He isn't under arrest, but his hands are cuffed behind his back for his own safety until an ambulance can get there. It goes on to say the man screaming the same unintelligible words over and over in a hysterical falsetto, banging the back of his head against the wall, and hammers his bare heels against the floor. It just, obviously sounds like a terrible reactions that it incites. Is it, in your view, then, primarily a public health problem at this point, or is incarceration part of what's necessary?
Well, I think that strong criminal and civil penalties are necessary primarily to stop those who are selling the substance. Clearly, what we're talking about with respect to the users, is a substance abuse problem that needs to be treated like other substances, like heroin and the like.
While we have you, I also wanted to get your views as former counsel to President Clinton, and you were involved in the impeachment fight. I did want to ask you about this ongoing investigation and review regarding